Okay, today I want to talk about setting up multiple websites on a Microsoft Windows Server 2008 server platform running Internet Information Services 7 and FTP Service 7.5. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create 3 websites, and then I'm going to implement those websites on IIS 7 as websites using host headers. I'm going to create one website as www.zzzmo.com, another one as www.zzzlarry.com, and the third one as www.zzzcurly.com. And then I'm going to access all 3 of those websites running on that IIS 7 web server from this platform, which is a client Microsoft Windows 7 Ultimate platform that I have out on the network. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is I need to go back to the server here and confirm a couple of things. First of all, I want to make sure that we do have IIS 7 installed. So if I go to Administrative Tools, there's the first indication that everything is good. If I go and look at right-click and open and go to the C drive, and I have an inet pub folder and a www root folder, which are required for web servers, running IIS 7, and so I'm good to go there as well. Next thing I need to do is I need to confirm that we have the FTP 7.5 servers running. So I'm going to go to the control panel, and I'm going to go to Programs and Features, and there it is. It is installed, FTP Service 7.5 for IIS 7.0. Now the reason we install that service is because the server role typically in Windows Server platforms for FTP service it does not work properly on the Windows Server 2008 standard platform, which is what I have. So I've gone out and downloaded the FTP Service 7.5 for IIS 7.0 and installed it here. Alright, so now the last thing that we need to do here is just confirm the IP address assignment. So let me go into Control Panel and Network and Sharing Center, and let me click on Manage Network Connections. Right click here and look at the property sheet on that connection. Go to Internet Protocol version 4 properties, and you can see I've assigned a static IP address of 192.168.1.175 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0 and a default gateway of 192.168.1.1 on this LAN. Alright, so that means I've statically assigned the address, so we're good to go. Alright, so let me click OK and close here. And let me go ahead and close this. So we're ready to build. I've also turned off the internet here, so we're just local. So we're ready to build these 3 websites that I told you about using host headers. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to go and we need to create an FTP root FTP default site. Alright, so let's go to let's open this up, Internet Information Services, and let's scroll down, and as you can see we have a default website but no FTP functionality yet. So let's right click on the sites and add an FTP site here. Alright, so the FTP site name is going to be default. Well, first of all, before I did that, forgot something. Got to go into C drive and go to inet pub, and in here under inet pub I need to right click and create a new folder, and call it FTP root, which is required for FTP Server 7.5. Alright, within that I need to create another folder, and I'm going to call that folder local user. Alright, I may as well, since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and create the 3 folders that I need for containers for the websites that I'm going to be touching from the client. Alright, so let me go in and open up the local user folder. Let me go in and create a new folder. And this new folder, the first one's going to be Mo. The second one's going to be Larry. And the third one is going to be Curly. Alright, so we've got Mo, Larry, and Curly here. Alright, so let's go back out of this. Now let's go back to where we were adding the FTP site, and we're going to create that FTP site default FTP. We have a default website. We're now going to create a default FTP site. Physical path here is going to be C inetpub FTP root, and we click the next button. We want all unassigned IP addresses to be able to access that from port 21. We want to start the FTP site automatically. We also want to allow SSL, the Secure Sockets Layer encryption, although we're not going to use it here because we're not going to have a certificate. So let's click Next. We don't want to allow anonymous authentication. We just don't want anybody getting in here. So we want to do some form of basic authentication. So let's click Basic. And then we want to allow access to all users. We could specify specific users and only let Mo, Larry, and Curly in, but we're going to do all users for now. And then we need to set up permissions here within IIS 7, and we need to give read and write permissions to all those users. And let's click Finish. Alright, and so let's do a restart here on the FTP site, and it's now up. We had a little X right there. Let's go into the authentication and verify a couple of things. We have basic authentication enabled, anonymous authentication disabled. For authorization, once you're authenticated, we're allowing all users access. And one of the last things we want to do, just so that we don't have Mo, Larry, and Curly being able to access each other's folder, we want to isolate those users. And so we're going to isolate them using this icon, the FTP User Isolations. So if we double click on that, we're going to isolate each user to their user name physical directory. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and apply that setting, and then we're going to go back out again. Alright, so next thing we need to do, now that we've got that set up, is let's go ahead and close this interface, and let's right click and manage and create 3 user accounts on the server itself. So I'm moving up Server Manager and going to the configuration, and I'm going to local user configuration because we don't have this particular server connected to a domain. So we're going to local users. Right now I've just got myself, administrator, and guest, so I'm going to right click and create new user, and I'm going to create Mo. I'm going to call it Mo, and then I'm going to give him a password of capital PA 55W0RD. Not require him to change password at next logon. Create. Then I'm going to create Larry. Same password, capital PA 55W0RD. And don't require password change. And then the last one, Curly. Same password, capital PA 55W0RD. And uncheck here and create. And let's go ahead and close. So now we've got Mo, Larry, and Curly. So we've got 3 accounts set up. We do need to give the folders that we created earlier full control permissions, NTFS, so that each of these users has full control to their own folder they're FTPing up to. So let's go back up to computer, and let's get in here, and let's go to FTP root, local user. Let's go to the Mo folder, and let's click on Properties, and click on the Security tab, and see Mo does not have access to Mo's folder, so let's take care of that. So let's click the Edit button and Add, and let's type in Mo and click OK. Found him, and so we're going to allow full control NTFS permissions. Now for Larry, we're going to do the same thing. Right click, Properties, Security. We're going to edit security here. We're going to add Larry, and we're going to give Larry full control over his folder, NTFS. And then lastly, we're going to do the same with Curly. Okay, and so allow, and OK, and OK. So we've got full control NTFS permissions for each user in their respective folder here. That is something that's required if we're going to be able to FTP into it or run a website from it. All right, so let's close that. Okay, so now I've created the 3 user folders. I've gone into FTP 7.5, and I've created those 3 accounts, Mo, Larry, Curly, and I've given them the respective passwords of capital PA 55W0RD. Now I want to create the 3 host headers and bind those host headers to the FTP accounts that we have. So let's go back in to Internet Information Services, and what I want to do now is create those 3 websites and bind them to the host headers. So let's expand this and go down to the sites and see we have a default website here. So I'm going to right click on sites and add a new website, and I want to call the first site name Mo's site, and the content directory for Mo's site is going to be the C drive, inetpub, FTP root, local user, Mo, and then click OK. So that's the full path to Mo's directory. I want to bind the HTTP to the IP address of 192.168.175 port 80, and then I want to call the host name with a host header www.zzmo.com. All right, and when I click OK. All right, so that's the first website that we've created. It is currently stopped here, and so we'll give it a few seconds. I'm going to go into default directory. You can see default.htm is what we currently have. We don't really have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead because I'm going to call each default website index.html. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I'm going to move it up to the top of the list. So that's the first site it hits, just to speed things up a little bit. All right, let's go back to Mo's site, and all right, so let's go back to sites again. Let's right click and add another website, and let's call this one the Larry site, and let's go to the physical path. Here is going to be Larry. So it's inetpub FTP root local user Larry. We want to again bind the HTTP to the IP address of port 80, www.zzlarry.com, and click OK here. And let's see, let's go back here, and this one hasn't started for some reason. This one started fine. Most site has a problem, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. We'll take a look at it. All right, let's add another website, and let's call this one Curly's site, and the physical path there would be C inetpub FTP root local user Curly, and click OK. Again, we want to bind that HTTP to the website server's address, port 80, and then the host header is going to be www.zzcurly.com. All right, so let's click OK. And Curly hasn't started either. Let's restart Curly. Looks like Curly started OK. I'm going to restart Mo's. So all of them are up now and running. So we've got a website for Mo, one for Larry, and one for Curly. Now, what we need to do is I need to FTP up their homepage from the client PC out on the network, which is the Windows 7 Ultimate client. I'm going to use a WinSCP utility to do that. It's a free one. I could use FileZilla, but I'm going to use WinSCP. First thing I need to do, though, is I need to create 3 folders. I'm going to create a Mo folder, and I'm going to create a Larry folder, and I want to create, lastly, a Curly folder. The reason for doing that is I need to keep the index.html pages separate. So I'm going to create here a new HTML page, and I've got file extension hiding turned off here. So I'm going to call it index.html. Okay, and click OK here. I'm going to get in. I'm going to use Notepad to open it, and I want to create a simple web page. And this one is Mo's. Okay, let me go ahead and copy that while I've got it open, and let's copy that, and then we're going to save this. Alright, so we've got an index page for Mo in Mo's folder. Let me close that. Let me go to Larry's, open his up, and let me create a new index.html for him. Okay. And once I get that created, I'm going to open it with Notepad and paste that information in there and change that to Larry's. Alright, and let's go ahead and save that one. And then the last thing I want to do is Curly. Let's open Curly's folder, and let's create an index.html for Curly. Okay, and then let's go ahead and open that and put that content in there and change that to Curly. Okay, and let's save that. Okay, so we've got 3 folders out on my desktop, 3 index.html files in there, which are home pages for all 3 of those websites that we want to reach. And then the next thing I need to do is fire up WinSCP, and let me FTP that up to those 3 folder locations on the server. Let me go to FTP, and I'm going to leave this put host name rather of 192.168.1.175, which is the IP address of the FTP server and the web server. Leave the name and username and password blank. Click Advanced, and I want to make this an active mode connection here. So I'm going to log in now, and it's prompting me for a username, so I'm going to type in Mo, and it should prompt me for a password, capital PA55 W0RD, and that should let me in, and it does. Alright, so now what I want to do, this represents Mo's folder, so I want to go up the tree here on this side to the desktop, to the Mo folder, and then drag that index.html over and FTP it up to Mo's folder. Now while I'm still in here, I'm going to click on a new session and do the same thing for Larry. Click Advanced here. Let's get to the connection, make that an active mode connection. Log in, and now we're logging in as Larry. And same password, capital PA55 W0RD. Alright, so we're now in Larry's folder. So let's go up to the desktop to Larry's folder and drag that index.html over. And then let's do a third session, and let's FTP up to Curly's. So 192.168.1.175, and let's once again make this an active connection. And log in. And let's see, we're on the Mo, Larry, and now Curly. And same password, capital PA55W0RD. Okay, and let me go up the directory to the desktop, to the Curly folder, and let me drag that over so we have that in there. Alright, so now I can go ahead and close WinSCP. So I can actually delete these three if I want, get them off the desktop. And before I forget it, we're going to be accessing those three websites now that we've bound with host headers to the IP address and port 80 of the server. But before I forget it, we're going to have a DNS issue if I don't resolve it here, in that the world doesn't know about www.zzzmo.larryandcurly.com. So in order to rectify that, what I'm going to do is, since I'm doing a local test, I'm going to go into Start menu and type in a command prompt to bring that up. I'm going to right-click on it and run as administrator and bring up an interface here that will allow me to get to where a host file is located, so I can put an entry in for DNS, local DNS. DNS is domain name service. It resolves an IP address to a domain name. All right, and so let me go ahead and change directory now to drivers etc. And let me do a dir on that directory, and you can see there's the host file we're looking for. And so let me do notepad hosts, open that up. All right, what I need to do here is add 192.168.1.175, which is the IP address of the server, and resolve that to www.zzzmo.com. And let me copy that. All right, and let me paste that in, and paste it in again, because I need to do this for every one of them, Mo, Larry, and Curly, so that when we type it in the web browser, DNS will know what the IP address is and get to it. All right, so now that we have those three created, let me save the file, and let me exit here. And I believe, let's go back out to the server. I wanted to show you that, let me get to the firewall of the server. And from control panel we get to the firewall. Click on allow a program through the Windows firewall on the server. I did have FTP 20 and 21 open. I made holes for both of those ports so that we could use the active mode. I didn't show you that earlier, so I want to show it to you now. So let's go ahead and close that. And I think we're ready to test. So let me go ahead and get back out onto, and so let's, once it comes up and stabilizes, let me get a new tab going. And I want to type in do.com. Alright, so this is Mo's website. So we're touching Mo's website using that host header. So let's check out Larry, www.zzzlarry.com. There's Larry's website. And finally, let's go to .zzzcurly.com. Alright, so we've touched all three of the websites that we have running, multiple websites running on IIS 7. We did that through FTP Service 7.5, creating accounts and out on the server, and then creating the interface for binding these three host headers to the IP address of the server to port 80, and then used a client out on the network once we rectified the DNS issue to actually access all three of these websites running on the server. So hope you have a nice day, and thanks for watching.